Hello, everybody. I don't know if anyone's there because I didn't post an advanced warning today. Wasn't sure if I was going to go on. I'm really kind of not in the mood, but this is my monthly scheduled time to do a live first Monday in the month at 4 p.m. New York time. It's not quite 4 yet. Hello, Jen. Good to see you. So I don't have anything on the agenda today or anything new to present. I don't know what we're going to talk about. So hopefully some people have some questions or topics they want to discuss, and maybe more people will show up despite the fact that I didn't post any warning I was going to do this. I did post a new video the other day of what's going on for me this year. This is my year of the Hanged Man. And so I'm trying to look at things from a different perspective, try some new things. Hello, the Entropy Apothecary. I don't know you, so welcome. Yeah, Jen, I might not stay on too long today. We'll see what happens. Susan, did you change your channel name by any chance? Hi, Joanna's Journey. Yeah, new perspectives in the new year, trying new things for me. So, I mean, last September, I sort of started to delve into Marseille a little bit. And then I kind of rode the wave in and out of it. I'm not really doing that at the moment, but finally decided to tackle the Thoth Tarot this month. But I'm taking a sort of a different approach than most people. And going from not from the system itself or from knowing anything about Crowley, but basically from a point of view of looking at modern abstract art. And I saw a Tarot Oracle did a walkthrough some time back that I discovered where he had trimmed all the borders and the labels off of his Thoth deck. And boy, those colors and images really popped, to use an overused word, when people trim off their borders and say the images really pop. But yeah, that's what happened. They were so much more accessible for me to see them that way without borders. So even though I don't do deck mods, I decided to give it a try. So I had ordered the Thoth Tarot. Coincidentally, at the same time in the new year that Becca at Intuitive Tarot had ordered one. And June's Tarot Journey had dragged out an old copy she'd had on the shelves for years. Both of them did video walkthroughs. And yeah, I thought it was a funny coincidence that all three of us at the same time were deciding to take a stab at the Thoth. Now, Becca, I think, didn't really care much for it and is probably going to regift it or sell it, or hopefully just put it back on the shelf until, at some point she revisits it. But and June loves the borders on hers. I went ahead and I did my first deck mod and trimmed all the borders off of mine and like it much better. Although already I'm having a little bit of trouble discerning which cards are which. Luckily, I did a walkthrough first, so if I get a little bit confused, I can go back and see which is which. Most of them communicate fairly readily along the same lines as the RWS system or the Marseille system. The pips are pretty easy, just counting, counting the symbols on the cards. The court cards are a little bit trickier because they have a different setup with, I think they have prince, princess, queen and knight or something like that, or queen and king. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at them like artwork and using the RWS system for those cards, which is, those people probably want to string me up for doing that. But, hey, everybody finds their own method. Let's see who's popped in. I see Sandra. Hello, Sandra. So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the more just looking at the abstract art and getting into modern abstract art. Actually, just before I came on today, I've been double checking my email and my Amazon confirmations, because the mail person usually delivers the mail about this time, about 3:30. And I've been checking for the last half hour because I had a deck I ordered over the weekend that is supposed to arrive today. I thought maybe it'll show up in time to do a walkthrough. I ordered the Mystic Mondays, which I came across recently, and I can't remember if I saw it. I think somebody had posted a still on the Hermit's Cave page, and I liked what I saw. It was a very minimal modern art quality and very intense bright colors. And I like bright colors. So yeah, it kind of feeds into the direction I'm taking in the new year with modern art and bright colors and investigating systems and cards that normally wouldn't be in my comfort zone. Another deck I ordered was the Whispering Spirits Tarot, which was made by the person that did the Mons Tarot, which I don't have. And that one I kind of like, but I sort of didn't take too, because it's really cutesy and it has, little cartoony characters with big googly eyes and silly grins. And I thought, I don't know. But this new one I really like. Actually, the character's eye, there's little dot eyes that are very suggestive somehow, but not explicit about anything. And they don't have any mouths. And but the colors are the same. And I saw a couple walkthroughs from Jen's Balanced Tarot and who else? Jennifer Ball and Lisa at Supportive Tarot. I saw 3 walkthroughs and I really liked them all. They all, oh no, was it Lisa? Maybe it wasn't Lisa. It might have been Danny Mystic, or maybe both of them. Anyway, I saw a few walkthroughs of the Whispering Spirits Tarot, and they all kind of describe them as, oh, isn't that cute? Well, I'm trying to get past the cuteness factor and just kind of enjoy the colors and the abstract nature of the creatures that are sort of otherworldly in their depictions. And it still follows very much in the Rider-Waite system and is very easy to read. So you might want to go look for that. And, when it shows up in the mail, I'll do a walkthrough of that. And also, what was the other deck I ordered? Oh, I ordered this deck from Italy, which might take a little while to get here. It's called Intuiti cards, Intuiti. And it was put together by a group of people. I think they're part of a corporation or a business or some kind of organization. And it was a conglomeration of ideas about tarot and intuitive interpretation of colors and geometry and symbols and sort of very abstract, but I like the idea of just sort of having these bright colors and shapes to intuit from. Oh, hello, Tarot Oracle. I just mentioned your trimmed Thoth deck that was an inspiration for me to tackle the deck. So yeah, it's nice that we have this community that is also willing to share with each other their thoughts and opinions and images and approaches and the way they handle things. This, besides this Thoth deck being a sort of a revelation to me, it was also a revelation to me how to proceed in modifying a deck. I've been pretty much against that for most other people doing it, and haven't found the need to do it myself. But I do prefer decks that don't have borders and don't have labels of any kind. I like to sort of intuit from the imagery. So this is one where I kind of had to draw a line and step over the line and, you know, take scissors in hand and try modifying. And finally invested in a little corner cutter. So yeah, I did that over the weekend and did a little review, a little walkthrough. And let's see what else is new. Oh, the other deck that's sort of been out of my comfort zone that I've been playing with and tackling is Carnival at the End of the World. This one's very tricky. I keep doing sort of one card pulls just to kind of look at the image and meditate on it and see what I get out of it, because this deck is interesting to me, but it's also a challenge because each of the cards, I'm sure most of you have seen this deck or some of the cards in it. They're sort of like sideshow carnival attractions or creatures in cages. They're sort of strange beings in costumes, and they're not really it's not really an action oriented deck. They're not so much doing things as they are wearing things. So for instance, okay, this is the Page of Pentacles, which, okay, actually he is doing something. He is carrying a whole basket of what appear to be these pentacle pastries, but he's sort of on his own little island. They're all like on their own little islands or pedestals. And it's funny, at the foot of this island are some starfish on the rocks. It's well-weathered rock. And the basket's made of straw, and his costume seems to be made of straw. And even his hair or headdress seems to be straw woven into a wig or a headdress of some sort out of straw. I can't quite make out the cane in his hand. It almost looks like a spiral animal horn or something. I don't know. But anyway, these are kind of interesting cards to just sort of sit and meditate and mull over the imagery. And there's no guidebook with it, and I haven't paid to order the book that you can buy, because I'm trying to see how much I can get from it on my own. The other thing that I've been having sort of fun with is the dice that I bought. I think I told you or showed you about this. I had ordered from, I think it's the Dice Shop online.com. I'm not sure if that's the name or not. It's from the UK. Because I had this idea that instead of cards, I could use dice. Now that I'm familiar enough with the RWS system, if they had a dice that had 22 sides for the major arcana, and then or a dice, I didn't find a die with 78 sides. I'm still looking for that. But so I got the 22-sided one for the majors, and I didn't know what I was going to do about the minors, and somebody suggested that I get 4 different ones, one for each of the suits that were 14-sided die. So I did. So I got in different colors. I got a green one for Earth, for the Pentacles, red one for Fire, for the Wands, and a blue one for Cups, for Water. And I could have gotten a clear one, but I got a purple one for Air, or Swords. Is that right? Yeah, Swords. And what I've been doing, sometimes I'll just shake them up and, see if one of them pops out and then read from that number. Or sometimes I'll do a spread and do all 5 of them. So then I've got a major number and then one from each of the suits. So each of the Air, Fire, Earth, Water, and the majors are all represented, which is kind of fun. It's kind of interesting. So I'm still not really doing sort of public readings yet. I'm not that confident, but I'll tell you this one is the way this landed. The majors landed on 12, which, if I can recall, 12 is the Hanged Man, I believe, which is funny. That's appropriate since this is my Hanged Man year. Then I have for the Pentacles 14, which would be the King of Pentacles. Then for Water, I have 1, the Ace of Cups. For Fire, I have 1, which is the Ace of Wands. And for Swords, I have not the 9 of Swords. That's interesting. So I have some beginnings, some near endings, sort of opposite ends of the spectrum. I've got 2 beginnings, and I've got a King and a 9 sort of up near the top there, and then the Hanged Man sort of hanging in the middle of it all. So make of that what you will. I'll think a bit about it more later. But I had a lot of fun sort of like memorizing or learning to memorize the majors for the 22-sided die. And I'm still sort of trying to visualize when I get the number in my head for each of the others, what the RWS picture looks like. Sometimes I have to refer to another deck or a book, but I have most of them down now. And I've used not exactly a mnemonic device because it's not sound related, but I've used a sort of a visual device to help me learn 1 through 22. Well, because there's no 0, 22 is the Fool. But 1 is the magician, which, I can think of as a wand or a single character standing up. 2 is the high priestess, which is a curved sort of kneeling figure. 3 is a very curvilinear and buxom sort of empress. 4 is the emperor, which we often see depicted, or in the Thoth anyway, you see depicted with his leg crossed, like the number 4. 5 is the Hierophant with a flat plateau at the top, which is sort of like the altar, the offering table in a church. 6 and 9 you can get mixed up on the dice, but they put a little period. So the 6 has a period after it. The 9 has a period for it, so you can distinguish the two. So the 6 is kind of a circle around and then a little dot. And I remember that as the lovers, because it's kind of a couple with, pregnant belly, expecting, and the dot is like the baby. It's a weird way to remember the numbers. 7 is the chariot. I remember that because the point on the 7 is sort of like the prow or the bow of the chariot moving off to the right like an arrow. 8 is strength because of the sort of lemniscat, but it also reminds me of, barbells and strength. 9 is the hermit, which is sort of like his head is kind of bowed, leaning over that dot on the ground, contemplating that stone or whatever. 10 is the Wheel of Fortune, which the 0 is like round like a wheel, and the 1 is either someone standing before the wheel, or maybe it's the little stopper when you spin a wheel where it stops the wheel. 11 is justice, so it's like the pair of scales. 12 is 12. Let me remember 12. I always have trouble with 12. Somebody help me with 12. 13 is death. Is 12 the tower? "12's the hangman." Thanks, Sandra. Yeah, I have a little trouble with 12. I have to remember that little curve at the top of the 2 is like his legs over a bar as he's hanging upside down. I do have these like little visual things going on with it, with the numbers. And I've been thinking about actually creating my own tarot deck or Major's deck with these numbers very specifically in the images of these figures. So that'll be kind of a challenge, I think. Hello, Simon. Oh yeah, I just noticed before we came on, I think Christoph had posted that he'd heard that a rumor that Patrick Valenza had passed away, which is not true. It's like a hoax, and who knows where that gossip comes from. But yeah, a lot of people were scared and upset, and this happens a lot on the web, and I say before you repost, do a lot more research and checking things out. Don't just randomly throw stuff out there. I've learned my lesson. I posted things, and then I discovered, the article it was referring to was a 2-year-old article. So it's like, what? Do your research before you post stuff. Patrick was aware of it. I'm so almost surprised Patrick didn't start that himself, because of the nature of his work and his the intrigue of his stories and decks, and dark mystery and mythologies. Patrick releases secret decks from beyond the grave, or something. So anyway, glad to hear that that's cleared up. And so I was having fun with these tarot dice and learning these the majors from the numbers, and I didn't finish them out for you, but yeah, I trying to retain a visual in my mind that sort of corresponds with imagery in the deck, and also debating whether to use Arabic numerals or Roman numerals if I decide to do a deck, particularly a majors only deck, or starting anyway with the majors and depicting them as numbers. The Arabic numerals lend themselves obviously more to curvilinear characters and figures. The Roman numerals, you have more strokes involved. So I don't know, it's something to think about. So we have quite a few people here. I don't really know how many because I don't have an on-screen count. But is there anybody out there that has anything in particular that they want to talk about or ask? For those that popped in late, I was just saying that I wasn't sure I was going to do this today. I kind of wasn't really in the mood, even though this is the time I designated for myself each month to do a live. But I did a Christmas Eve live this year, so I thought, oh, do I really need to do a January one? And I'm really kind of not in the mood. What am I going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? Simon enjoyed the Thoth walkthrough, got me to trimming decks. Yeah, I did already talk about that a little bit. It was actually, I ended up using the scissors because they are what I had at hand. And I thought, well, everybody's saying use a guillotine, but that means I have to either order one and wait a couple more days for it to show up, and I didn't have the patience. So I thought it came down to a straight edge and a blade, which I have done before. When I worked at the bookstore, I used to have to deal with store signs and graphics, and I was forever trimming out signs for sign holders and display and stuff. So I was pretty good with a straight edge and a blade. However, I had a decent desk then. I don't have a proper desk here at home. I do have a kitchen table, which is loaded down with stuff. I can't really get at it. And so I basically do eat my meals and do most of my stuff on a little tray on my lap, a little wooden tray. And this really didn't cut it for, pardon the pun, didn't cut it for cutting cards with a straight edge and blade on my lap. So what I ended up doing was dragging out my scissors. I do have a pretty decent pair of scissors, but they're not long enough blades to do the whole side of a card. But I thought I'm fairly careful with cutting. So I did do pretty well. And because of the colors and the imagery and the shapes on the Thoth cards, even if an edge isn't perfectly straight, you don't notice it. There's like a lot of busy stuff going on design-wise in the cards. And so Sandra thinks I did a good job. Well, you haven't seen them up close. My camera is not that sharp. But yeah, they're not bad. Actually, if I have the deck here. That all slipped right out of the box. If I hold them up, if I hold them in my hand, they're not the same width. I don't know if you can see. It's really not perfect. But They're all right. They're close enough. They feel okay in my hands. They look good. I don't riffle shuffle. I overhand shuffle, and they're okay. They got a little bit bowed, I think, from using the corner cutter and like holding them in there just so. It was my first time with a corner cutter, and actually one or two of the corners didn't come out perfect because I used the smallest setting, and so there wasn't that much snipped off, and some of them took 2 or 3 tries to get the corner to cut. But it's all right. I don't think this is going to be a trend for me, although I was tempted with when I saw Kelly Bear's walkthrough of her favorite deck of the Creatures of the Enchanted Forest, or whatever it's called. I did like that deck, but I didn't like the borders. I liked her version where she'd cut off the borders, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do that or not. So if I ever get that deck, I might do that. But most of them, I leave the borders alone. I just don't see the point in cutting them off. But this was a case where it felt necessary to me. Really thick, elaborate borders and labels that just sort of confounded or confused me or directed me in a way that I didn't want to be directed. So yeah, they had to go. Oh, I did want to say back to my tarot dice to help me out. Besides carrying them in a little bag, us deck collectors, we have so many of these little white books that what I decided to do, in case I had a little need for assistance in trying to recall what number corresponded to what image, if I wasn't remembering it right, I thought, well, I have some of these decks are in tins, and I just have storage boxes on the shelves with little white books sitting in them. So I pulled my little white book out of my universal weight, and I'm using that as a reference in my bag with my dice. So for now, or until I get really, get them really ingrained in my brain, what images correspond to what numbers on which dice, if I get stuck, I can just pull that out of the bag and have a little quick reference. So there's a good idea. And another idea I mentioned to people when I was doing the deck modifying is when we buy decks, they always have, especially Los Scarabeo, have those little ad cards in them. Don't throw away those ad cards. Save them. Use them as test cards if trimming a deck. Use them to test cutting with, and helps you to do. Oh, hello, Masha. Masha just got her OM. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but I don't know if they'll read for me. 31 days of tarot bids. Everybody's doing that. I'm not doing it. I sort of feel like I'd like to do it, but I tell you, I've done so many of those top 5 videos just in the last 6 months that I just think for me, it's kind of like redundant. And as much as I love all my tarot community, I don't think there's anybody on there that I want to watch a video by every single day for 31 days. Now, I like what Kelly Bear did today. She took the first 6 days and did them all in one video. 6 days might be a bit much for one video, but hey, one every 3 or 4 days works for me. So I might take it on, but I'm not doing one every single day. It's just too much. Masha uses the ad cards for chopping practice. I love your little scissors icon emoji. I'm not good at reading emojis generally. On this screen, they're coming up really large. Usually they're so tiny, I can't tell what the heck they are. Once you trim one deck, it's like potato chips. You can't stop at one, says Joanna's Journey. Ooh, I hope that doesn't happen to me. I mean, because even though I didn't do a horrible job, I said they're perfectly imperfect. There's a Grace Jones song. I'm not perfect, but I'm perfect for you. This my deck is not perfect, but it's perfect for me. It works. So, well, let's see. I mean, it's still early days with my Thoth deck. We'll see whether how far I get with reading those images intuitively, and if I get to the point where I have to buy a book. I'm still kind of slogging through Rachel Pollack's 78 Degrees of Wisdom or Tarot Wisdom or something. But I have it as like an ebook on my smartphone, which I like. I like it's. I don't think it's something I really need to physically have to leaf through, and I like the illuminated screen. I like reading books on sort of Kindle or ebook readers, and also I tend to read a lot at night in bed, which is not good for reading because 4 or 5 pages in and I drop off to sleep. But on my phone, I can turn all the lights off in bed and just read in the dark because the phone's illuminated. And the formatting on the phones also, I think, is easier than a lot of books. Simon, I don't know whether you ever read from ebooks. I know you like to handle books, but I know you also have issues with big, thick, fat books. And I find that ebooks or Kindle books, they don't have as many words on a page, and page turners are much easier to get through than big fat books, because when you have that many words on a page, it's just daunting and it's overwhelming. It's like, oh, am I ever going to get through this page to get through all the other pages? But on a little book, on your phone, you just swipe, swipe, swipe. They go through so much faster. So yeah, I'm recommending for the most part tarot books on your phone. I did want to order the was it Caitlin Matthews Tarot? Was it Tarot Revealed or Tarot Untold? Or I can't remember the name of it. And that one wasn't available, unfortunately, in digital mode. Let's see what else is. Everybody's talking about pens and edging and card cutting and 31 days of tarot. I haven't edged any decks yet. So that I might do at some point. I don't think I could test it out on the Thoth, although I don't know that it particularly needs it. Since the images now run to the edge of the card, I don't really know if I need I don't know. I don't know that it does anything for me to edge it. Simon asked, "You bought 4 decks so far this year. Have you said what they are?" Yeah, but I'll repeat it just for you. Well, the Thoth deck was the first one. Well, actually, prior to the new year, or just at the tail end of the last year, I got the Carnival at the End of the World. Then I got the Thoth deck. Actually, the Thoth deck wasn't my first order. I think it was my third, but it came the quickest because it was on Amazon and readily available. I ordered the Whispering Spirits, the Mystic Mondays, which may be in my mailbox as we speak. The mail person delivers at 3:30 usually, and it was supposed to arrive today. But just before I went on the air, I checked and it hadn't arrived yet. If it hasn't arrived yet, it definitely will by 8 o'clock tonight. So that will probably be my next walkthrough. And then the other one I ordered was the Intuiti cards, which I had to order. That's an indie one from Italy. So that one's going to take a while to get here. The Whispering Spirits coming from California, and that's halfway here now, apparently. And boy, I tell you, I swore that I was going to take not a depth year, but a slow order year this year and only order one a month. And already, I mean, what are we? We're not even a week into January, and I have 4 decks. And I do not want this to be a trend. So, but I'm not seeing a lot of decks that I like. I mean, when I come across ones I like, then, I put them on my list. But, already I'm a very finicky deck collector. Oh, hello, Elle. She made it 5 days without buying a deck. I caved today. Elle, what did you get? Many Queens on Little Red Tarot. I did look at that deck a while back, and I'm trying to remember. That's like line oriented, isn't it? But I sort of liked it. Oh, and one of the reasons I ordered the Mystic Mondays at Simon, I'm going to get on your case. You've been very naughty because I know you have hundreds and hundreds of reviews on there. When you start to get a sense of of my taste, please send recommendations my way, because I find something that somebody else has posted an image from, or somebody else has done a walkthrough that I like. I thought, wow, let me see if Simon ever reviewed this. And I go, and months to years back, he reviewed it. But I saw it somewhere else first. I thought, well, how come I never heard about this before? I can't blame you too much, though. I only just started getting into modern art and colorful art representation. That's kind of my thing this year, so far anyway. So all the new decks I've ordered are very vivid colors and very modern art. And the Mystic Mondays actually reminds me a lot of the Seventh Sphere Tarot, which I have showed. I don't know if any of you have this or know about it or are interested. I'll show a couple cards. They have these very modern and very minimal images with well, this is a Masha. I don't know if you know this deck or not. I call it a Marseille deck, but people have said, no, it's not Marseille, it's a Pip deck. So I don't know. But I like the hard edge images in this, and I love the color palette. And I think this was the very first Marseille deck that I bought, because I absolutely loved the colors on the Pip cards. They're sort of pale pastel, and it's a very small palette. It's like salmons, pinks, and shades of blue, sort of bluish purple. They do have these little gold foil things, which to me is just kind of a flashy distraction. I'd be just as happy if they didn't have that. It's a not bad Wheel of Fortune card, better than some that I've seen. I'm not a big fan of that card. This does have a lot of women in it and people in different roles than usual. There's, like, the Fool appears to be a woman sort of walking away on her journey, which I like. Simon says he has almost 800 videos. Keep searching. I am searching. Simon, I watch more of your videos than anybody else. I got to give some other people a break and watch their videos. But usually, like I say, if I it's sometimes it's hard to find them. I mean, what I'll do is, if I see a walkthrough, and I tend to only buy a deck if I have seen a full walkthrough by somebody. That's why the only deck that didn't happen with was the Abandoned Oracle, because when he first advertised it, it made it sound like it was going to be a limited edition run, and if you didn't pre-order, there might not be any left and you'd miss out. And I thought, I saw 5 or 6 sample cards and I thought, I like this enough that I think I'm going to like the deck. I will gamble and take a chance. But generally speaking, I don't go on those crowdsourcing. What do they call them? You know, when you sign up and pay in advance for, I don't do any of that. I want to wait and see the whole deck firsthand. Now that might change if I absolutely fell head over heels with a sampling of, 6 or 7 cards, but that hasn't happened yet, except for, the Abandoned Oracle. And luckily, I was happily surprised with that deck and how much I loved it. So, so anyway, this Seventh Sphere Tarot seems very much to me like the Mystic Mondays, which should be arriving tonight, and I'll probably do a walkthrough of that. Oh, another reason I ordered the, what did I order? I think another reason I ordered the Mystic Mondays, it was really cheap. I think it was like $15. It's like if there's a deck that I sort of like and it's under 20, I usually kind of jump at it. The Thoth deck I thought it would be cheaper. It was not that badly priced, but to get the larger one, because I knew I was going to want to trim it, I had to pay more. And I think that was, I can't remember if it was 23 or 26. It was more than I wanted to spend, really. But I thought if I got the smaller one and trimmed the borders off, it was going to be like a pocket deck, which I really didn't want. Kickstarter, that's the word I was looking for. Back in the Divine Masculine. Oh, that was another thing about this Mystic Mondays that I'm not sure about. I don't usually have issues with gender representation. The Mystic Mondays looks like it's almost entirely women. A lot of the images are female cards in the usually designated male characters, with the exception of the Emperor and the Kings, I think. I'm not sure about the Knights, but I think all the others, even the Hermit and the Devil, are all female, which is interesting, but I sort of feel like I'd like a little bit more of a balance in that deck. Watch Holly at Cape Cod Creatures review of Mystic Mondays. Okay, I'll make a note of that. I don't know Holly at Cape Cod Creatures. You must have so many videos to watch, Simon. I'm sure from all the people following you that you have a lot of subscriptions, and it's hard to keep up with everybody. I have a small group that I sort of watch everything by, and then I've actually started getting into skimming. I know I shouldn't, but I should watch everything and every word that everybody has to say. But if it's not a deck that I really love, I've started to skip around, even with you, Simon. So, but generally speaking, I watch all of the Hermit's Cave videos, all of Becca's, and all of Sandra's, my 3 mentors, and then sprinklings of others. I watched some of Lisa's and some of Dustin's, and I've watched all of Brant's so far. He doesn't have too many yet. And Masha, although Masha, I love you, but you're so heavily into Marseille, and Marseille just kind of isn't my thing. So, but I have found some wonderful, wonderful things on Masha's site. The Nigel Jackson Tarot, which I ordered. I haven't used it much since I got it, but I loved it. It's beautiful. Elle, I'm still waiting for you. Aren't we all waiting for Elle's content? And I also want to see her play the ukulele again. Brant is coming back. Oh yeah, I think he had a mother-in-law visiting, and that's why he didn't do new content. So, now that his house guest is gone, he's going to be cranking out videos, I hope. He's presented some really unusual out-of-print decks, I think. And I like that, actually, even though they're unavailable. And it's gotten me into danger because I don't know whether he kept a copy of the Royal Fez Moroccan or mailed you the only copy he had, but it was seeing that I had to have it. So people looking out for me for decks and want to refer decks to me, generally speaking, I don't like contemporary representation. If it's a really highly stylized modern art or abstract art, it might be my thing. That's kind of my new thing. If it's very, very vivid color, bright colors, I like that. If it's traditional, antique or older art, or earlier 20th century art or historical stuff, I like that. So yeah, it's the contemporary renderings that they just kind of don't do it for me. They're like Everyday People, I don't think there's a deck yet called the Everyday People Tarot, but the everyday representations, I can go out and walk the streets of New York City and see everyday representations. I don't really need it in my tarot. I use my tarot as a getaway place. And generally speaking, I don't like animal decks either. Animals are pretty. I'll look at them in, a magazine or a natural history thing, or go on National Geographic or some nature channel. But if I see a picture of a raccoon on a card, what am I going to do with that? Pretty raccoon, rings on its tail, rings around the eyes. It's wearing a mask. Okay. What about that otter? I don't know. These, a lot of people love that stuff. It just kind of doesn't do it for me. Simon asked about the style of the 5C, 5 cent. I'm trying to remember. Is that a collage one? I think a lot of the collage ones I don't like, even though I have a couple. Yeah, I'm trying to recall if that one has a lot of natural history stuff in it, which kind of isn't my thing. It's not collage. Well, I saw it, and I guess I didn't love it because I didn't make a note of it, but I'll have another look at it. I saw one, hello, Divination and Tam Keefe. Welcome. I saw a couple the other day that interested me. There was a new one that Tom Benjamin just reviewed, and I think it's not out yet, and I don't know if it's in a not crowdfunder. I keep forgetting that word. One, that you have to sign up and support. But it was from, I think it's called the Relative Tarot, and it was like vintage photographs from the turn of the 20th century, and they were sort of collage with ghostly images from the RWS, and actually it wasn't bad. I kind of liked that one. Kickstarter, thank you. I never will remember Kickstarter. I keep thinking Mixmaster. I don't remember the word. The other one I saw was on Etsy, and I should really stay away from Etsy and all these channels that have indie decks because they tend to be expensive. Oh, I thought of Elle the other day because I bought the Mystic Mondays for $15, and somebody had the RuPaul Drag Race tarot. I thought, oh, I wonder what that's going for. Let me have a look. I saw a walkthrough. I thought, oh, I don't care much for this, but if it's cheap, I'll get it. It was going for like, $100 or a couple $100 or something ridiculous. And it's not intuitive at all. It's more of a deck for fans or collectors of the images of the drag queens on RuPaul's Drag Race. It's just like not intuitively readable to me at all. So it was fun to see a walkthrough, but yeah, not for me. You cut yours up. Oh my! Wait a minute, Ella, is that a joke? She goes, 100 pounds, question mark, exclamation point. Oh my God. I hope you didn't cut them up. Check the prices online. I tell you, they're going now for like hundreds of dollars. Oh no. But you used it for scrapbooking. Oh my God, Elle, you could have resold it and bought like, 10 other decks, probably. Simon, it was the RuPaul's Drag Race deck. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, Etsy. There was a deck on Etsy that I liked, and I wrote it down. Maybe I can slide you to one side to look at it's called the Lady Black Cat Tarot. Has anybody ever heard of this? Now, I am not a cat fancier, but this was a really beautiful deck with cat images, black cats wandering through each scene. And the only thing about it was there are pip cards in it, and the pip cards didn't do a whole lot for me, but they were interestingly arranged numbers and pips. It was pretty, and the color palette is beautiful. It's kind of like black and yellow and sort of midnight blue. So it's like a very nighttime kind of deck. The yellows in it are like lights at night and fire and moonlight and candlelight and stuff like that. And the only card, though, that might give people some pause is the Hanged Man, which had a picture of a cat hung by its tail or one leg or something, which a lot of cat fanciers would have trouble with. But I mean, it was illustrated, and it wasn't a photograph of a cat. And I've seen other decks like that, and it kind of doesn't disturb me. It's a stylized notion of a hanged man, hanged cat. I mean, well, I think it was by a leg, and the hanged man is hung by a leg. So I guess if you're using cats, you kind of have to do that. But a lot of people probably would just say animal cruelty. I can't see that. I was just watching June the other day did a walkthrough of the Affirmators Tarot and got to the Hanged Man, and it was a frog hung up by one leg. So, similar thing. That's a cartoony deck, but Golden Girl Tarot people are talking about. Masha likes one cat deck, and it's a TDM Majors. Is it the same one, Masha? Have you seen this one? The Lady Black Cat Tarot. Check it out. I think it's very pretty. And the backs are pretty too. Sandra thinks she saw it or something else somebody's talking about. I'm not sure. Sandra, it might be up your alley. You like animal decks. And cats. Not the same one, Masha. Okay. Let's see, what else is going on back here? Golden Girl Tarot. There's a Golden Girl tarot out, or there's somebody's working on one. Oh, Simon's looking forward to it. I guess it's in the works then. You know what? I need to get on, or maybe don't need to get on a list. I see people that have these catalogs, and I don't know how they get these tarot release catalogs. Whether can you get them for free, or do you have to pay for them? Mail order catalogs listing decks that are coming out in the next season, month by month, new releases. Because I see them online, and they just show them page by page, but the images are so small that you can't see them or read any of the content. So it's like, what do you do with, mail order catalogs? Oh, Tam Keefe just ordered the John Waterhouse Oracle. I hope you ordered the right one. This was by Tarot by Seven on Etsy, and it had, I think, 80 cards or something. It has a lot of cards in it, but what's her name? What's her name? Oh, shoot. I can't think of the name of there's a woman that does a lot of content who had done a different Waterhouse Oracle, and it only had like 34 cards or something in it. So, I mean, there are two different ones out there. And I think it might even have had keywords or numbering or something. The one I got has no labels, no numbering, just card images, but they are beautiful. I still use it occasionally, although these days I don't use Oracle decks much, and I'm using more the Abandoned Oracle than the John Waterhouse, just because it's newer and fresher and kind of more fun for me. I use the Waterhouse Oracle when I'm really feeling overwhelmed by urban life. If I go out to a cafe and I just cannot stand the frenetic energy of all the people around me, I'll sit at my corner table with my latte and pull out the John Waterhouse Oracle and look at these lovely Victorian gardens and these gentle, quiet, pastoral images. Oh, and it's so soothing and calming. Tarot by Seven. Now I'm trying to remember, what else did Tarot by Seven? Oh, she had a few decks. Did she do the Deck of the Bastard, or was that somebody else? I'm trying to remember. I think Tarot by Seven also had. There was a deck that I liked. It was a black and white one of sort of antique kind of skeleton sort of images that I sort of liked, and saw a couple walkthroughs. And then when I saw the price, it kind of put me off. And I thought, I don't know, maybe I'll hold off on that. And then they also had a Sola Busca deck that kind of hemmed and hawed about. And that's sort of on a tucked away list that I may or may not get back to at some point. The Deck of the Bastard I have mixed feelings about, because I don't mind the aged look on it. I love the non-weight, the non-Smith images. I don't like the combination of the Pamela Coleman Smith images with the other images. Now, I don't know if the other images were pulled from a number of different decks or from one other deck. If they were from one other deck, maybe that's the deck I need to go find, because I like those a lot, those kind of antique images. But I didn't really feel like the styles worked together. That antique line art that's almost more like engravings compared to the Pixie ones that's more like pen and ink drawings or something, and thicker lines. And I don't know, just didn't work for me. Tam Keefe just got the Solabusca. Now there's I think a number of different versions out there, so I don't know if you got that particular one or a different one. Also, once you go down the rabbit hole of Etsy and indie shops, the prices just go up and up and up. On the other hand, I've got to get away from Amazon cheapies because, like, when they have stuff on sale, I've seen stuff I think that Simon and others have done walkthroughs of that I think, oh, I'm sort of intrigued, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. And they say, it's between 20 and 30 bucks. And I go on Amazon, it's like 15 or 16. Now, I don't know why these prices go up and down the way they do, but if it's cheap, I tend to just sort of jump on there and buy it. But I shouldn't, because, I did that with this horrible thing, the Angelarium. I don't know. I don't know about this deck. I reviewed it and it creeps the hell out of me. It's on my shelf. I feel like I can't get rid of it quick enough. I don't think I will ever come around to loving it. And I think I was forewarned by Simon, or maybe at the time I ordered it, I think he said that he used to have it and he'd gotten rid of it. Or I had seen one of his walkthroughs and it looked interesting, but then when I checked with him on it later, he'd already gotten rid of it. Tam Keefe has become tarot addicted. It happens. Tarots and tattoos, very addictive. If you're not spending money on tarot, you're spending it on tattoos or tea or incense or coffee. At least they're not as expensive. Deck of the Sorrows. Don't know if I know that one. Little Red Tarot. Now, I don't think I need to get into them because don't they just carry the same stuff as everyone else, but in the UK? Plus, it costs me more money to have it shipped here. Stolen Child is so beautiful. Okay. Somebody likes Stolen Child. That one didn't do it for me. Fable's Den is making a cat deck. I don't know Fable's Den. I'll make a note of that. Sandra, her next tattoo is the Ouroboros. I just saw you mention that in one of your walkthroughs today. I wanted to comment on it when you were showing that, though. If you notice that card from that deck, it's actually a lizard and not a snake, which is the first time I've ever seen an Ouroboros with legs. But I'm sure you meant just to get the snake swallowing its tail. And I actually like that deck, Sandra. I forgot the name of it now already. I love the coloring in it and the fluid imagery. The one thing it's a deal breaker for me is that Lovers card with that weird pyramidal tarot pose of the woman like arched over the prone body of the man. It's just like, I don't know. I don't really like tarot imagery in decks and Mystical Dream Tarot. Thanks, Sandra. The rest of the deck I love, and I think, well, actually there are one or two other cards I'm not thrilled about. Like the one with the Chinese junk seems sort of like, why did they put that in there? It's a pretty Chinese junk, but there's nothing Asian about the rest of the deck. It seems like a strange, almost tokenistic inclusion or something. But yeah, a lot of those images, what they do with energy and, the air currents and the water and the fire and the clouds, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the color palette, it's like sort of grays or blue grays and oranges. It's a beautiful deck. So I don't know. It's not likely they're going to reissue it with a different Lovers card. I don't know if I can ever get over that. if I can, I'll order it. There are a lot of cards in that I love. There was one early on, I was trying to remember if it was the Empress or the High Priestess. It's near the beginning of the deck, where not only the wind and clouds are wispily floating, but her hair and her skirts is also kind of doing this action on the card, which is really gorgeous. The Fluffy Bunny Tarot. I only have one plastic deck so far. That's the Seventh Sphere. And that's the one drawback for me about that deck. I kind of don't like the plastic cards. I mean, I love that plastic cards are sort of waterproof and all that, but the cardstock on this one is really thin and flimsy, and the cards practically jump out of your hands when you're trying to shuffle. They're that fluid. I don't know if that's indicative of other plastic decks. My RWS 2.0, which I still love, it's still my favorite, feels to me like a plastic deck, but it's not. But they're thicker, more substantial cards, but they have a beautiful feel to them. It's weird. I don't even know if it's a visual, if it's just kind of fooling my mind somehow, but I feel like they feel different, this deck. Like when I hold them, it feels like the best deck I've ever handled. I just absolutely love it. Maybe it's because of the sort of blurred kind of image that they have, a kind of almost a waxy finish or cast over it that's slick, but smooth and slick. They're not sticky. They're very slippery. And I think it's just MakePlayingCards.com's standard 30 weight coated cardstock. I mean, they're not glossy. They're semi-gloss and just a standard card, but they feel fantastic. It's my favorite deck to handle, actually, oddly enough. Actually, it's funny, the backs don't feel the same as the fronts. So maybe the fronts have a coating on them that the backs don't have. But you all know I've done about 3 or 4 videos on this deck. I love it so much. It's still my favorite. How can you resist the color in those stars? I'll tell you, I thought about commissioning one of those colored printed tins for this deck to store it in. I don't know if I want to pay the money or not, but if I did, which card would I use? I'll tell you. This, no, that's the wrong one. It's a Wands card. This isn't the card I use, but this is the standout prettiest card in the deck. I'm in the sky, and that one just blows everybody away. And I still have issues with the Hangman card. The blue is just too dark. But, if I was going to have the order a tin for this through Make Playing Cards with an image on it, I'd pick this card. I love the colors in that card and the imagery. I don't know symbolically why, whether that means something particularly to me. It's funny, it's a very hermit-like card in a way, although it does sort of relate to people off there in those ships or beyond the 2 rods or staves, wands that he has just moved beyond. But yeah, that's the RWS 2.0 again. Sorry for folks that have seen it too many times, but it ain't over. I think in years to come, doing your favorites deck, that's gonna keep coming up the way Simon's Blushing Fool keeps coming up. Now we were discussing linen decks. The only linen deck that I have is the John Waterhouse, and that one actually, I'm not in love with the linen the way that everybody else is. It's nice. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. I'm not complaining, but it really, it doesn't have the same appeal for me as it does for others. Has a little texture, on the cards, and if you hold it off to the light, you can kind of see the grain. I'm not sure I like the tactile feel of that texture on cards when they're linen cards. And depending on how sharp your vision is, the grain on the card can also be seen a little bit. Well, it's not showing on my camera. It can be seen a little bit in the images. It's still my favorite Oracle. Well, I don't know. That Abandoned Oracle is vying for first place in my Oracle decks with the Waterhouse. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I think it's kind of a trend of the moment for me, that Abandoned Oracle thing. It has a couple of cards in its deck that I find sort of problematic, but none of them are deal breakers. Let's see, where are we? I'm scrolling back. Anybody have any questions or comments for me? Everybody's happily having their own little conversations in the chat. I didn't have as much trouble getting online today as I usually do, maybe because I didn't do a pre-design setup. I just hit, live, and there was a couple little buttons, and here I am. But, I don't know what the usual YouTube issue is for me. Tam, if that's directed at me, thank you. So what have we got coming up this week? I know, let's see, today is Monday. Wednesday, we've got Becca live. I bet Becca's going to do a ramble tonight. She's not here. I didn't give her a heads up. Wednesday night, she's got a live, and Friday. Simon, I think, is interviewing Brant on Saturday, which I can't wait to see. And I think he has a Throwback Thursday this week, which I tend to miss because of my writing class. I don't get home quick enough. I think it takes place during my writing class. What have you decided? What's the Throwback Thursday deck this week, Simon? I'll give it a little mention, or you can mention it in the chat room, actually. Although by the time most people see this, if they view it back, then they might have missed it anyway. Simon's gonna check. Masha, he's checking. He might still be doing a voting count. You know what I've been really enjoying? The Enchanted Tarot is still in the lead. Okay. The Enchanted Tarot. Is that a Llewellyn deck? I think I actually like that one. Is that another one that has the little tiny labels at the bottom? Yeah, I kind of considered that one at some point, but I'm not sure. It falls in that same vein as design-wise as Everyday Witch and um, Forest of Enchantment. So I'm just not sure. No, huge cards. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something else then. Enchanted Tarot. Okay. Oh, is it one of Poppy's decks? Not a fan. Sorry. Her decks fall into that contemporary thing that I was talking about. That's not my thing. Um, okay, there's a lot of back and forth about, is it this deck? Is it that deck? Which deck is it? Huge cards. I was on a train of thought and I totally got thrown off. Throw mama from the train. Um, oh, I know what I was saying. I've been really enjoying Jen's Balanced Tarot Sunday group, her tarot study group. And this is something that I like more than online readings. I like, actually, I just started watching some of Tarot Oracle's learning the tarot, learning those deck lessons, and they're interesting to me. But generally speaking, I don't like sort of tarot classes. But what I do like, since I'm an intuitive reader, is I like seeing what other people see in a card. And I don't necessarily want to rip off Jen's thing, but I have been thinking about doing something like that. You know, it's like dragging out a card and seeing if people find things in it that I haven't noticed, because there are all the little elements and symbols I generally pick up on, but it's always interesting to see, you know, what other people have spotted that I might have overlooked, you know. And even if you read a book or the book that comes with it, they don't always cover all that. That book that she showed the other day, I have it too, the red and yellow one that I never remember the name of. This one. Yeah, I got this early on, The Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot. And I got it because it appeals to what I was looking for in cards. Is not having books tell me in a paragraph what a card means, but dissecting the images symbol by symbol and what each symbol element might refer to or mean. Now, I found even with this deck that they have skipped or overlooked some symbols that I want to know about. And usually when that's the case, I'll go to the old reliable Google and Wikipedia and look up a symbol, look up the history behind a symbol, or the cultural significance of a symbol or a color or a costume element or something, or tarot history. But, you know, this is a pretty handy book, you know. For those of you that don't have it, you might want to look into that. In case you can't read it on the screen, The Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot by Johannes Feibig and Evelyn Berger. Published by something in a moon so small I can't read it. Oh, it's Llewellyn. 1899 US. It's not too bad. It's a not hefty reference worth having. Each page, I'll show you for an example. Each page has a picture of the card and some information here. And then on this side, they isolate elements, like they take a scalpel to the image and segregate each element, each symbolic element, and then tell you sort of like symbolically what those elements mean. It's useful. It's worth having, I think. Sandra, you found your copy of this today. You mean you just got a copy, or you had one and you tucked it away somewhere and forgot where it was? Simon likes it. Great book. Divinations excited for Tarot Oracle's Oracle deck to come out. Oh, I'm having issues today. You have to excuse me if I belch right in your face. He does great artwork, but it's an animal deck, and I've already said, animal decks don't do it for me. But those of you that love animal decks, keep an eye out for Tarot Oracle's Oracle deck. It's funny I say that about animal decks, because the one I just ordered, the Whispering Spirits one, is sort of animals. It's kind of animals and kind of aliens or fae spirits or otherworldly characters or creatures. Elle wants to know what was a symbol they missed in the book from the cards. I'd have to really, I can't do this in real time, Elle. I'd have to go and look again at the cards. But there have been a couple of instances where I thought, well, but what does that symbol mean? And somehow or other, they didn't deem it worthy of going into, I guess. I don't know. I have to look again. Anyway, what I was saying about the Whispering Spirits one, it does have sort of animal-esque creatures in, but they're very stylized. They're not like, straightforward depictions of animals. I think, and I don't like it when they get too close. I think there was one with a fox or something, or there was a mouse, but the mouse was not strictly a mouse because it had antenna and a bushy tail, but it wasn't a squirrel either. So, I mean, they have combined different elements. There are a couple of characters in there that look very frog-like, but for the most part, they are all like made-up creatures, which I like. And I also, I hate to get into this topic. I don't really want to get too far into it, but I know a lot of you like inclusive decks. And, well, it kind of gets back to my thing about me wanting to get into escapist worlds and not sort of dealing with everyday people that I run into all the time. But when I look at decks, I don't really think much about it. I mean, whether it's male, female, whether the character is of a particular race or heavy or thin or old or young, I tend to put my mindset in the body of that character. I don't have to identify with their color or their shape or their age or whatever. I'm not sure why people feel it necessary to do that, but I don't look for that in my decks. And I know inclusivity often refers to race, and race can be a divisive issue, which is why I shouldn't really get into this topic. But that's one of the things that I liked about the Whispering Spirits Tarot, and one of the things I like about Christoph's tarots. Christoph's tarots are all blue-skinned people. The Whispering Tarot is all blue and green and gray skinned. I don't think there's even gray. I think it's just blue and green, purple skinned creatures. And nobody on this planet are those colors. So we can't feel excluded. We all are included because those colors are not colors we are part of. So we are, by the very nature of that, included. That's just my take on it. Also, I don't read for other people. Now, if I was reading for a particular person that might have issues regarding inclusivity, then maybe I would seek out a deck for them. But, how do I know that, they would find it identifiable, that say there's an overweight hermit in the deck that they can identify with? Would they give particular offense or affection for the fact that the hermit is designated as overweight or of a particular race? Would they have chosen that card for that designation? Does that present a whole new thing? It's like, well, why did they pick the hermit to depict as whatever? And there's so many issues there. It's just like, I said I shouldn't open this can of worms, and I'm sorry I did, but we'll leave it for now. Simon says Christoph's blue skin tones are a nod to Hindu diet. He meant deities, but first I wanted to say, what are they eating that turns their skin blue? Actually, I heard somebody say somebody was taking silver or some kind of silver something or other supplements over the course of time, and it builds up in the system, and it actually turns your skin sort of a bluish color. I don't think it's harmful, but it does weird things to your pigment. And I know if you eat lots of beta carotene and carrots and things, I think your skin turns more orangey. But the fact that he picked blue, I think, is more that he just liked the blue, the color of the blue. I love the blue depiction of Krishna, the baby Krishna with blue skin. I often wondered if that was like a baby that didn't get enough oxygen when he was born and his skin turned blue. That's why they depicted him that way. But, I love the images of those, but, I don't read too much of a Hindu connection into it. I mean, there's nothing else, as I recall, in his imagery that relates to Hinduism. When I think of his stuff, I think more of like the Blue Meanies from the Yellow Submarine movie, the cartoon, because, the colors and details in that movie are very pop and remind me of Peter Max. And I wish there was a Peter Max tarot deck. What else is going on? Green Glyphs Tarot. I don't know what that is. Silhouette. Masha, I will check that out. L says, representation is important, particularly as each card is a powerful magical figure. So having only slim white males as powerful figures, yeah, it's frustrating to me, LOL, but that's me. I get that, L. But on the other hand, no, I don't know what to say about that. I almost feel sometimes that inclusion, when you only include one or two cards like that, is like tokenism. Like maybe you need a whole deck of body types or races or images. And actually, I saw a deck that I sort of liked that I was tempted to get. I think it was the African Tarot or Afro-American Tarot or something. And it was all like native African culture depictions. And it was a fascinating deck. And I thought about it and I thought, well, why am I getting this deck? And do I have any reason for getting this deck? Or do I have any right to be using this deck? And does this create some kind of culture appropriation, conflict, whatever? I don't know. But just because I get a deck doesn't mean I have to share it on YouTube or with anybody else. I mean, I can enjoy it for its own sake, just privately. Keep it in my tarot closet. Twin Peaks Tarot. I think I've heard of that. It's out of print, though, I believe. No? Sandra has to go. Good night, Sarah. Sandra. Yeah. Oh my God. We're an hour and a half in. I didn't really plan. I thought I was going to drop in, and if nobody showed, drop out in 10 minutes. And so thrilled that you were all here. And unless anybody else has anything else they want to ask or comment about, I might just call it a night myself. So, I mean, it's early for me yet. It's only 5:30 here in New York. Was wonderful chatting, Elle says. I'm glad you guys all have your own thing going on in the background, despite what I did or didn't have to say. Divination, have you been using the dice? Yeah, I have been, and I covered that a little bit early on, so you might want to watch this and skim through from back at the beginning once it goes online. Science to Soul. Jen, it's morning for you, isn't it? I keep thinking you're getting up as Simon and Sandra and Becca are going to bed, and Elle, I think Elle probably stays up later. I don't know. Oh, I love all your little emojis there, Masha, even though I don't know what they all are. It looks like praying hands maybe, and some sparkly diamonds. So I'll see you all throughout the week and be looking forward to the weekend, and maybe I'll have more to talk about next month, or maybe not. We'll see what happens. Next month's February, so might be talking about lovers or Valentine's Day, or who knows. Elle doesn't wake up till 4 p.m. Belladonna Romanoff. Oh, welcome and sorry I missed you. And Mike, some new people. It's wonderful. I also want to thank everybody who has subscribed, because I am one person away from cracking that 300. That's been kind of my goal. When I started this out last summer, I never thought I would pass 30 subscribers. And I'm now at 299. 299. Who would have thunk it? Not me. So I thank you all very much for being here, and thank my mods, which I had forgotten to thank. I probably need to add some new mods. Honestly, I'm surprised any of you showed up tonight, since I didn't give advance notice. I am overwhelmed and thrilled that you're all here. And Divination says I cracked it. So as soon as I get off, I'll check. Oh, Elle says I've hit 301. Yay! Might lose someone though. The other day it was 297, and then pop back to. I go 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Someone subscribes and then somebody else unsubscribes. I'm over 300. Should I do a giveaway? I've been thinking about that. I don't know if I have enough people interested yet. I might do a giveaway. I might give away, when I ordered my dice, I ordered 3 extra majors only dice. Would anybody be interested in a 22-sided dice? I might do that as a giveaway. So yeah, if I do, maybe what I'll do is I'll do just a very, very short, like 1-minute video. It's like anybody who's interested in a giveaway of the majors only dice, drop a comment below or something, and then see, if I get enough people, I'll do the giveaway. Okay, so be thinking about that. And Simon's first giveaway was when he got 300. So maybe a tradition there. Simon got me started. Simon's getting me started in the giveaways. All right. Good night, everybody. And be well, stay well, and I will see you all before you know it.